Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Morning Coffees with James. No lack of intro. I know there's no, Agent Cooper saying, "Damn, that's a fine cup of coffee." No, that was somebody else. He said, "Excuse me, but I have to say this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee." And then you have somebody later down the road going, "Man, what a cup of coffee." That's what I love about David Lynch. Good morning, everybody, though. Welcome to Morning Coffees with James. And today we're going to be talking about something I want to address. First of all, that video you saw earlier where I was talking about the censorship and The Last of Us 2. I know everybody's just like hates, it's probably getting into an old story, but I like doing that story because it was just like it kept developing into this mess. And again, I know half of you are like, "Oh, please stop talking about The Last of Us." And it's like, there's so many people talking about it, but I'm just going to be another individual doing it. Because it's an interesting, look at that whole artistic spectrum. I mean, you can respect the artist, respect the model, respect the artist, respect, the art. That's all I gotta say. Okay, it's not for me, but respect the art. And you know what? This is not art that respects back. The Last of Us 2 is a video game that's supposed to be art. Most video games should be video games, but this one is just it's just the lack of respect for the audience. If you're telling a bad story, you're telling a bad story and not in a good way. If it's not engaging, if there's plot holes, if there's points in the game that, and again, with video games, they have to be comfortable to play. You like playing this game. Even games like The Last of Us, there's some kind of gameplay they like about it. Something that clicks with them. Granted, I like playing Far Cry 5 because it does click with me. It's action-packed. And I mean with the Far Cry games, because with Call of Duty, comparing the two, I wish Far Cry was more like Modern Warfare. A little bit an annual thing rather than just, "Oh, we're just gonna make another Far Cry game and just wait for a while." Because I like the concept. Even the earlier games, Far Cry, one and just that one trilogy, that one series, the first game when it was not done by Ubisoft, had an interesting concept. You're just a Marine, a spec ops soldier who's on vacation, gets caught up in a mess. It's a Die Hard scenario. I feel like that's what I love about it. It feels like an 80s action movie, and one of the good ones. Not any of the shitty ones with that were the knockoffs. No, it takes those elements a little bit, but it also just mixes in the more Die Hard elements. You know what I mean? Die Hard, Rambo, because you do get a bow and arrow in the game, and you can put an explosive on the tip, which I find very interesting. It's fuck yeah, this game is just rebel, resistance rebel simulator. Alright, I'm 3 minutes in. I need to talk about the real discussion here. Because, I'm talking about video games here, but the truth is that's something I want to talk about. Because I want to talk about this, though. I want to talk about the news cycle and the doom and gloom and all this stuff. I was watching Razor Fist, and he kind of made a point about this. We're watching the news, and it's causing us to be very panicked. And I don't care if you're watching CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or One American News or InfoWars or the Young Turds. And even the other guys like Chris Reagan, even Razor Fist himself and everybody else. Well, maybe then again, some of these other guys, the smaller dudes, can be okay, we've been watching too much news. And that's, the point of the whole video. We've been watching too much news. We're watching all this information play out. War, death, famine, plague, race wars, this, danger, 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 danger. Powerball at 11. Yes, I stole that from Razor, but you know what? It makes a good point, Think about the news cycle, and I've been talking about this in other videos, but think about the news cycle for a moment, Is Skittles making you sterile? Find out at 11, Can dogs just turn on you and shoot you in the face? Find out at 11. Is cheese really the enemy of the state? Find out 11. Like, what? Cheese being the enemy of the state. My God. It's not an American cheese, it's Montreal. No, I'm trying to think of the name of a German cheese. You know, it's. Sir. What do you guys prefer, warm cheese or cold cheese? No, I'm dead serious about this. I thought about. All right, back onto the real story. No, it's about the news cycle, and it's just like something I've just kind of don't appreciate anymore about. Like, this is why I find the mainstream media so toxic, is the fact that not just because they're giving out like false information most of the time, you know, or skewed information, or overblowing something, they sometimes are not. They sometimes don't give you good information. Like, it's always bad news. It's always this wrong. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is taboo. It's always some taboo. It's like, you know, again, I look at the news cycle and it's like we definitely fell into the 1984 version of America, where it's like, okay, they had, you know, this and that. They had people on TV telling you information. They had, you know, this and that, and an hour of hate. And we kind of fell into that. Like, you know, 1984 kind of became a reality. And in a sense, it's kind of scary because it's very haunting. It's very haunting in that sense. I mean, again, with the news cycle, it's scaring. It's getting us into this mindset a little bit. And also, it's like, just, if you look outside your window, there's nothing going on out there. And the fact that, like, you know, the whole, like, why isn't Trump doing anything in Seattle? It's like, why isn't Seattle doing anything about Seattle? Like, that's the thing I want to say, too. Like, why is it like, oh, statues can be torn down, but they can be rebuilt, and buildings can be rebuilt. Cities have been destroyed and rebuilt, you know? It's like the whole argument, like, oh, everything's lost. It's like, you do, like, in a superhero movie, it's like, they destroyed the city. Cities can be rebuilt. Lives can't. Sorry about all those lives that died, but many more would have died too. This has been all that argument, that shit, that, like, these people with mediocre power try to be like, you know, try to manipulate the audience. You know what I mean? Manipulate their, you know, people to think like they think. You know, why do God, you know, like, that's what happens. People, like, if there's a bad guy running around, somebody has to stop him. And then that somebody may be a little bit, it may have massive power of destruction, but it's like, you know. But then again, cities do get rebuilt, you know, statues get rebuilt. You know, and then this shit doesn't last forever. Antifa is a weak-ass organization, and we've seen that with Chaz, which I want to talk about real quick, because this is something like, when reality, you know, doesn't meet your expectations and you kind of are comfortable with it. Like, Chaz is like a very interesting, like, retrospect, because people call it, it's a love fest, it's the summer of love, and it's like, that's not love, that's fucking chaos, that is destruction, that is like evil anger right there, that is hatred and anger, and just this idea that they can govern themselves, and they really can't govern themselves. Like, they tried growing vegetables, they tried growing plants there, nothing grew. You know, there's porta johns everywhere, and it's terrible. You know, there's lawlessness everywhere, drug use, violence, you know, and it's all falling apart. And it's, you know, these are people who are not going to vote anymore. The Democrats have lost. I mean, if you really look at it, like, their leader has Alzheimer's and is mentally falling apart. You know, Bernie Sanders, I'm sorry, yeah, I liked him too, but when push came to shove, I was like, you know what, no, I'm sorry if that little birdie, you know, didn't know. He probably knew and was trying to warn everybody, this guy's a communist! He just kind of flew in there and I was like, this guy's a communist! Oh, this little bird doesn't know. Oh, I'm tired of telling you he's a communist. And all it's coming out is tweet, 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 tweet. And it's like, how cute is he? No, he's like, no, you stupid humans. I don't want to be food for you. I'd rather be food for your fucking cat than you. I am not a chicken. I am a bird. But anyhow, that's what I'm kind of worried about. Like, not really worried. I'm not worried about Chaz anymore. Excuse me. It's like, because it's like they can't even choose a name. Because everybody was like, Chaz. Oh, that sounds. I think. And I have to admit though, the guys on Fox News were like, you know, they really like there's a. I think it's like one of those like 5-head panel things where like 5 heads talk at once and they're like talking about a subject, and it's like somebody made a point that that the reason they named the name Chaz because it was probably familiar to the character from Wedding Crashers, the guy who lived in his mom's basement. Mom, meatloaf. It's like I have to laugh if that's the situation. Because they changed it to CHOP, which I'm like, you mean child health? That child insurance shit? And it's like, they can't choose a name, and it's like Antifa. That's what it is. Antifa-stan. If your country's that bad, it's the name Stan. Run. Anything named Stan, run. I'm just kidding, to all the stands out there. But it just makes me laugh to no end, though. It's, you know, I'm not worried about that. And the whole tearing down the statues thing, like, yeah, Trump, I'm gonna admit, though, this is the thing that bothers me. Why do you focus on the racist backstory of people? It's like, oh, they were slave owners. It's like, yeah, they probably were, and they probably looked at the slaves and were like, maybe this is wrong. Like, you know... But they were too, like, because this is the thing, it's scary to be the black sheep. It's scary to be the outsider. And I mean this, too, as somebody as an outsider. I'm scared of the whole, you know, being exiled, because you don't want to be exiled. Not like, you know, what, did Frederickson free his slaves? What insanity is that? What? You know, because they all shun you. It's like, what, you know... You know, everybody thinks that... Everybody does have that little, like, you know, this is wrong kind of thing. You know, even with, like, this whole protest thing, if you are, like, for, you know, Black Lives Matter, I want to just say this. Look into your organization. I know the name sounds great, you know, because yes, Black Lives Matter. But... look at the organization, look at it from the negative point of view from other people. And I'm not talking about just like these white assholes, you know, white supremacist assholes. No. We already know what their argument is. They can shut the fuck up. We heard it. I'm talking about black people who are against this. And I mean this too. Like, listen to them. Because it's very interesting in the sense because it's like, you know, again, as a white person, you don't want to be called a racist. We really don't want to be called that. Like, that's not a label we want to be stuck with because you're stuck between a rock and a hard spot when people have the stigma about you, about that, and it's probably not true. Because it's scary. I mean, it's absolutely fucking scary because on one end, you're dangerously close to this, like, you know, group of people who don't like you. You know, and I'm not just talking about, you know, black people or people of any kind of nationality. I'm talking about just everybody. White, black, nobody likes a fucking racist. Like, no, that piece of shit's a racist? Fuck him. And it's like you get demonized. And then on this other fucking end, you're surrounded by these fucking douchebags who fucking, you know, who are like trying to lure you in this cult of like, you know, you must be a Nazi. You must hate. You know, welcome. And they try to welcome you too, and it's like no, and it's like you're stuck between like the, you know, your conscious and the shadow, and it's like that's not who you are. Yes, do you get angry? Yes, everybody gets angry. Everybody has said some racist shit about somebody who cuts you off in traffic, somebody who fucking cuts in line of you, somebody who just crosses you the wrong way, and yes, they happen to be another nationality. You say some nasty shit. I'm sorry, but you do. And again, that's towards everybody. But I think I've gone, well, no, I'm going to talk a few more minutes. Because this is something I just want to address here as a white person, okay? We don't like to be called racist. We don't want to just... That is not, like, something that somebody wants to be. You know, somebody who's just filled with hatred and anger, like, it clouds their judgment. And yes, some people are just pieces of shit that you can't reason with. Somebody who just looks at something and says, this is power. That's why you look at, like, not just Bill Dukes, you know, but Jesse Jackson, you know, Al Sharpton. I mean, like, Richard Spencer, who are, like, I'm throwing up 2 for 2 there. So they just have this idea in their head that this is what is right, and it's like, you know, that is scary. Like, this is why I'm, like, not too concerned. Like, this is why I'm like, look, this is the thing. It's okay to, like, you know that whole, like, meme that was going around, it's okay to be white? Well, it is. It's also okay to be black. It's also okay to be, you know, straight. It's also okay to be gay. It's also okay to be fat or thin. You know, it's okay to be you. Like, that's been, like, that whole message of that. If you really look at that, nobody copies that meme. Nobody copies that meme. Because if you really look at it and look at Black Lives Matter, it's 2 different things. It's, you know, this is telling you that, you know, this is what's more important. This is what it is. This is it. You know, nothing else. Nothing else. It's kind of one-sided. You look at something like, it's okay to be white. It's like, you can replace the word white with something else. It's okay to be. It's okay to be. You know, it's okay to be. It's okay to drink coffee. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be naked. It's okay to be dressed. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to agree. It's okay to be you. It's okay, but you know, but then again, it's not okay to be a monster. It's not okay to be a bad person. It's not okay to be a racist. It's not okay to be, you know, angry for the sake of being angry and mixing hatred with anger, because anger and hatred lead to bad things. That's the path to the dark side, my friend. It's okay not to, you know, it's okay to be angry. All right? You know, but don't let hatred, it's not okay to hate. Like, in an evil sense. If you mix hatred and anger in there, that's evil. Like, anger plus hatred equals evil. And those 3 things mixed, and it's like, and then once you add more, like, wrath and stuff like that into it, it just becomes, you become that evil person. And that's the scary part about the entire situation, about that whole, like, this nation is racist, because it's like, people are falling into being a racist. And this whole argument that, well, black people can't be racist, sounds even more racist than, you know, saying that black people, like, it sounds more racist because now you're judging, you know, your own people for not having the capacity for evil. Like you don't believe that, like, that lessens your, you know, your group. It's like, if you say, like, gay people can't be evil, it's like, you know, that's a lie. There's some evil gay people out there. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer, come on now. But, you know, there's evil Asian people out there. Have you seen The Lethal Weapon 4? I mean, have you seen any Jet Li movie? Asian people can be fucking sinister. And they're good. Like, and again, to any of my Asian audience, that's not an insult. That's... I mean, look at Mulan, the main villain in that. I don't want to fuck with that guy. He's got, like, he looks like an Asian version of the Kurgan from Highlander. Like, if they ever made, like, if someone wants to make a fan art of that, of mixing Mulan with Highlander, I would be okay with that. In fact, I would love to see that as an actual Highlander movie. Like, have Duncan MacLeod or, like, Connor MacLeod be teaching this one, like, if you wanted to change the mythos a little bit or tell, like, an alternative story, Mulan, like, again, if you look at Mulan would have been a great Highlander story. Like, you have, like, this evil, like, Mongolian, like, immortal fighting a Chinese girl immortal, like, that looks like there's some badass shit right there. God, Highlander's a fucking great movie. Let's not talk about racism anymore and the whole fear of that. Let's talk about Highlander. Like, fuck yeah. It's, you know what? Because it's such a... That movie's so fucking good. Like, 80s fantasy done right. Like, the fact that you have this small little, like, mythology right there, this small little, like, magic about these groups of, like, these several groups of people around the world who happen to be immortals, people who are, like, literal gods in the sense, like, and, like, and they can only be killed by having their head cut off, and that is some, like, great storytelling right there. Like, it's kind of like this dual kind of thing, like, it has to be cutting off the head, like, it's so, like, samurai myth, like, so warrior-esque, it's like the head needs to come off. And it's like, that is some, like, sick shit right there, if you think about it. Like, think about it. And then, like, you got the story of Connor MacLeod, who was a Scotsman in Ireland, a Highlander, a literal Highlander. Like, the name Highlander comes from that. And he basically, you know, discovers that he has this magic power that doesn't allow him to die unless his head's cut off. And then he's taught by by Sean Connery playing a Egyptian playing a Spaniard. And it's fucking, like, in their dialogue and their interaction is so beautiful in that. Like, yo, if you want to shit on Highlander, be my guest. It is a weird, cheap movie, but, like, if you think of it, but if you're a fan of canon movie, yeah, that movie's a canon movie. And if you're a fan of 80s action movies, like I am, like, you know, the more bizarre ones, it's fun. It's absolutely fun. It's, you know, it's a simple mythology. You have a great villain in that. You have some of the fun, like, just a fun story and this kind of mystery of, like, what's going on here. Like, especially with the cops in that movie, where they're just like, you know, what's going on with this, you know, people cutting their heads, and they're investigating this whole incident, and it's like, it turns out it's like this ancient game where immortals play seeking a prize, which, you know, I think it's like, it has to do something with, like, psychic energy or something. Like, that's what I think the prize is. The prize is just this gift that you can be a human again, you can have children, you can do this and pass on, like, you live forever that way. That's, like, that's more rewarding than just being, like, who you are and watching people, like, wither, like, decay around you. And I like that. I like the fact that that's the mythology of that. That's what, like, when people don't understand, like, how can I feel sorry for somebody who doesn't die, or somebody who doesn't have the risk of death? And it's like, it's not about the risk of death, it's the sympathy of, it's like watching your dog. Like, imagine, like, it's like everybody's living in dog years and you're living as a normal human. Everybody just, like, that person you met, like, you've seen, like, you met as a baby, grows up to be an adult and grows older than you, like, it's kind of tragic. And it's like, and again, like, the whole, like, falling in love scene, because it's like you're watching somebody you love fucking, like, go, and you're just remaining there. Like, it's not about the immortality, it's about the fragility of life, but also the tragedy of just being kind of the one who survives. You know what I mean? Like, you live forever and everybody goes away, and you're kind of stuck with, like, horrific people, like, and good friends too. Like, in that movie, yeah, he has a few guys who are still, like, alive. Like, I forget the guy's name. I know he's something, but it's like, it's a short scene, but it's like, just their interaction is that, you know, immortals don't just continuously try to kill each other. They sometimes like each other. Like, the reason why people, like, you can say, like, that's a great plot hole in the movie of Highlander is the fact that why didn't Ramirez cut off Connor MacLeod's head? Conor McGregor in Highlander. I would watch if they made the movie proper, and it's like, and Conor McGregor did do some acting lessons. Like, yo, you're gonna have to act, dude. You're really gonna have to put this through. I would watch it. But Highlander, Yeah, that's one of the things I kind of like about that too. It's like not all the immortals are like sick, twisted, evil bastards. Some of them are just like, and they're not out for the prize. They're like, they kind of enjoy kind of like this like lifestyle. It's like, look, I don't die. I can drink and then drive my car off a cliff and then come be like, yeah, I'm all right. You know, change a couple of identities a couple of years, and that's what I kind of love about that. That's what I kind of love about Highlander. You know, and again, a more proper version of that would be Interview with a Vampire, but the thing I would say, though, is that Interview with the Vampire does have some sick-ass sword fights. And I know some sword experts are out there. It's like, oh, that's like, no. Think about this. If, like, the sword fighting was better in Highlander, like, say they just did the Sinful Thing and remade it, which, you know, I wouldn't mind if they did it proper. The sword fighting needs to be more updated, like have actual sword fighting in it, like I have actual, like, you know, and there probably was some actual sword fighting, like actual fencing going on there, but I mean, like, we're kind of living, like, have some like experts on there to be like showing you different things. And one of the things I will say though about Highlander, yeah, it doesn't have some good sword fights, and I love the training montage in that too. That music, the way like it's edited too, and like the different transitions of, like, you know, the transition of Connor's, like, from being a barbarian to an actual sword fighter, and it's like it's such a good, like, this is why the 80s were so good. The montages were good, and just how these montage, like, you know, how they're edited, you see the growth, you see the development, you love it too. You love it because it's like, and especially with Highlander, with, you know, Ramirez and Connor, it's the fact that they share a bond. It's like, you know, Connor, like, you know, Ramirez shows his potential, like, yo, buddy, you have potential, like, you lack, you know, and you have poor sight on your potential. Like, it is such a motivational, like, idea right there, because it's like you meet, you know, there's somebody extraordinary meets another person who's extraordinary, and he sees that extraordinary thing in him, and he's like, no, you stop being such a fucking dickhead about shit, and sort yourself up, bucko. You have, you know, you don't know the full, you know, you don't know the full potential of your, you know, ability. Like, that is the most brilliant thing ever. Like, and again, it's shit. I love Highlander. I don't know, that one scene in the movie, which, you know, sells everything, when Connor's out there and the lightning's hitting him and all this shit, and, you know, and it's like, what is this? It's the quickening. And he turns and goes, Connor, we're brothers. Like, you know, that's what I love about that too. Just the fact that there is this kind of like camaraderie in that movie. And let's be honest, Ramirez's death is such, like, my God, that is such a hero's journey, but like, to a twist of that. You know, you're meeting somebody who's like invulnerable, but still vulnerable to the emotions of, like, things going on around him. Like, think about characters like Wolverine. The reason we love him is, like, we feel sorry for him. Like, people can, like, harm him, and he just goes, he's indestructible, but, like, there's some things that just, like, still hit him, like Jean Grey's death, killing Jean Grey, watching Professor X die, finding out he has a daughter, you know. Like, Logan was such a good fucking movie. I mean, like, even this character in the X-Men movies, I mean, like, this is a guy who just doesn't give a shit about life, but, like, he does give a shit. He does interact with that world. Like, yes, this is who I am, and, you know, these are the people, like, this is a character who's negative towards love and shit. Like, oh, I'll talk about it in just a moment. I've gone overboard with this, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, love you, and bye-bye. And remember to stay awesome. Alright? Peace be with you. And just relax. Stop watching the news. Go out and have fun.